Good evening, ladies and gents, interplanetary, intergalactic time travelers. We salute you. This is giving a little report, disinformation analysis report here from a bunker that I call Studio 72 in the People's Republic of Multnomah County. We've got the scientist here, 30 years, at least 30 years old, dubbing the roots tradition. Dubbing the roots tradition. The scientist, old school. You got that kind of echo. Anyway, you got to find your happy place, man, because we're in World War IV. World War IV. We could see it coming, but I have to admit that I'm very disappointed and a little surprised that Donnie, or at least, I mean, what do you expect from a ZioCon administration, secret cabal around him in the White House? I just expected a smarter crew to do a pivot here for the midterms, because this is going to be absolutely devastating for the midterms. And why is that important? Why are we talking about the midterms? Because if you can't see that far out, and I just want to, I'm not trying to be insulting here, and I don't want to do a super long one, but a couple of things I got to say here is that I'm just breaking down really simple things, because these simple things seem to be missing these political geniuses, especially around the Trump administration. Number one, I keep hearing there's so much gaslighting. The gaslighting. It's every single minute, every single turn. We've got gaslighting here about numbers. It's the fog of war. Of course, we expect this fog of war, but it really has, it breaks me down. It gets me fired up. And then I'm thinking about all the truth and the facts of what I'm hearing from Trump. I'm hearing from these administrations. I'm hearing from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, who it just sounds kind of like a sociopathic lunatic at this point. Trump kind of sounds a little sociopathic, or maybe even psychotic. This last little presser on Air Force One. Of course, he's got to be. He's not flying United. Okay, let me get that straight. He's not flying United. It was alarming. I mean, just the whole demeanor of Trump. And he's got Uriel Chavez, welcome. Find. You've got Pete Hegseth, which he doesn't normally fly with them on this. And you've got Steve Wilcock, who this guy's supposed to be a part of the diplomacy team. He's supposed to be a part of the diplomatic relations here in Ukraine and with Russia and trying to prevent World War IV with Iran. And now it looks like the truth is coming out. Now it looks like that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, right? I mean, the vampire, ghoulish vampire, sleeps in a coffin type of guy. He's been involved in all this. It is the whole agenda was to pause, slow down, manipulate, and do a psyops on the media, that there was some sort of peace deal that just got shattered by these horrible people, mullahs in these big, huge turbans, right? Mel Kelly, good to see you. Thanks for coming down. So, I just want to go through some of this gaslighting here. And if any of you can think of some things that you've heard that it's obvious lies, it's obviously fog of war deception, drop that in there too. What's up, VKK? Good to see you. Hi. Thanks for coming in. So a little bit of this disinformation Iran war, which is really, it's more conclusively a holy war. A holy war. We're seeing now the truth of Israeli agenda with this red heifer sacrifice, the third temple, all this biblical stuff to come to almost like witchcraft. It really feels like a voodoo type of witchcraft on the Israelis' part to bring back the Messiah, which the Christian Zionists are jumping on saying, yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to bring back Jesus. It's a little different than the Judaist witchcraft Messiah, but we want to bring back Jesus. Yeah, let's bring back Jesus with World War IV. And it's the most insane, batshit lunacy type of stuff that's going on right now. People are referencing scripture and saying it's in the Bible and it's all right there. Well, even if that's true, I'm hearing the Christians saying that. I'm hearing the American Christians saying that as if it's an acceptance. They're accepting this dark satanic operation, World War IV. They're calling it World War III. It's World War IV. They're accepting that like it somehow is spiritual, it's holy, it's biblical. It has to happen. Now, Daniel 16 is right there. Jeremiah says right there, Damascus is flattened. Israel must be flattened. It's all right there. Revelations, it's all right there. It's biblical. It's all prophesized. It is this religious, spiritual, holy war where we have backing of what you have to call self-defeatist Christian Zionists, because they've been pulled into anything, the farthest thing from Christianity you could possibly think of. And what is the farthest thing away from Christianity that you can think of? Satanic. This is nothing short of satanic. This is not about, we're no longer now with this World War shit, World War IV. This is no longer about a functioning unity with Zionist neocons, with that Judaists are the same as the Christians. And the Christian churches are all now being spied on, and they have to preach that we have to see this. We have to do this. We have to attack Iran. We have to attack the golden dome of the rock because we got to build a temple that was wiped out by the Romans. I think it was Titus, one of these guys, wiped it out. And that's biblical in itself. Jesus prophesied about the demolition of the temple. Anyway, let me digress it back up because I'm not here to quote biblical. I'm just wanting to jump in, do a quick one here, reach out to you guys. If you guys need any crisis counseling on this time of World War IV, drop it in here and we'll pray for you and we'll give you some good free advice. Just my opinion type of free advice. I'm not going to give you any financial or medical. I certainly hell ain't going to give you any political, because I'm not the guy to be talking about political alignments right now. I'm in total disarray from the fracturing and splintering of what looks like America first. MAGA's long gone. I'm hearing all these political commentators talking about MAGA. Let's say MAGA this, MAGA that. MAGA's long gone. It's long gone. MAGA was about make America great at first. This has gone from Israel first to now Israel only, and it's now MEGA. Not making Iran great as Trump's trying to spin MEGA. It's making Israel great again. And that's where we've been hijacked, unfortunately. Now, there is possibly, I'm losing my faith every day that this world war goes on and the intensity and the worse that these war crimes are becoming. Now we have dueling desalination destruction. What happens when people can't get water for 3 days? They die. Is that something a Muslim God would wish? Is that something a Christian pastor would wish upon anyone? Is that something Jesus would wish for? His children dying from lack of thirst, and food's coming, but you're going to die of water, without water, within days. You probably go 30 days without food. Both of those things are being cut off. It's not just oil into America. And Vancer Vankenvan, thank you for coming down. Amen. God bless. I agree. So I think that's my opening rant type thing. Like I said, what I want to do is I'm just doing disinformation. It's the gaslighting that's kind of made me snap. And this last one, which I think it was yesterday, where Trump brought on Secretary Pete Warhawk to address the press on the plane. So they're bouncing around, right? It's that presser. And just the energy coming from Trump was alarming. But his words, you can't misinterpret his words, were full-blown psychopathic. It lacked any type of emotional connection to dead children blown up in Iran. It lacked any type of connection to empathy. That's beyond sociopathic. That's psychopathic. So where the hell did Donnie go? Bring Donnie back. It's saving Donnie. If we could. Maybe it's beyond saving Donnie. It may be beyond saving the midterms, but I'm going to stay optimistic because I'm that kind of a guy. But when you turn against God, as it looks like Donnie and the administration is doing or has done, it's now being revealed, right? It's now being revealed to us, the truth. They've turned their back on God. There ain't nothing good that's going to come out of that. There ain't nothing good that's going to come out for them personally. Each and every one of those Trump administrators, secretaries of war and violence, secretary of death, secretary of starvation, secretary of dehydration, thirsty death, all of those forces are going to go down. Unfortunately, they bring us down. They bring the peacemakers down. They bring back a whole bunch of people down. I'm not just down. Not like I'm feeling down. I mean dead down. Permanent dirt nap down. Down in the desert sand. Israel, sand being turned into glass down. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And it's the greatest concern and anxiety that we've been having for years. It first started with Biden. I thought with Trump, with all of his rhetoric, he's broken every single campaign promise that Donnie has done for years to stop endless wars, to stop the massacre and slaughter of U.S. service people into the deserts of the Middle East. Stop. All of these things is why this independent voted for. That's why this independent has defended him. But, you know, and that really, it makes a lot of people that have been fighting all of these Democrats and liberals and anarchists for the last couple of years saying, no, give him a chance. The economy's going to be great. He's going to turn it all around. He's going to stop these wars, blah, blah, blah. He's going after the drug cartels. I supported that. I supported those military actions. This in Iran is a cluster of nonsense. This is the worst decision that could possibly be made, but to do it before the midterms is absolutely fentanyl smoking insanity. It's beyond ignorant. It's beyond a blunder. We're beyond a gaffe at this point. We are looking at multiple nuclear armed countries ready to shoot and blow everybody up. This isn't registering with the American first base. It's not registering with this almost cultish type of bubble of people that are around him now, saying that the polls are great. The polls support the Iranian massacre. All of this nonsense and gaslighting. The gaslighting. Can you smell it? Can you smell that smell? It's not a good smell. It's the smell of death. It's the smell of sulfur. It's the smell of satanic forces calling themselves holy, calling themselves religious, calling themselves the chosen people. You're not the chosen people. Chosen people don't massacre children, baby girls in an effing school in Iran. And then the gaslighting, which is continued on. And it even came out in that sulfur-filled 747 Air Force One presser. I believe it was either last night or yesterday. brand new, the last one. Go listen to it if you've missed it. Go listen to the presser. Trump says things, I'm not playing it. If I had that right there, boom, maybe I could do it real quick. But I see a lot of people are playing it. A lot of people are hitting on this because they're just as stunned as I am. They're just as upset as I am. They're just as dismayed of the vocal, in-your-face, overt, satanic, psychopathic disregard for sovereign nations and for sovereign people and for children. Reporters asking Trump about the baby girls. Now they're saying 177. We're not totally sure if that's how many parents. I heard another thing that came out. I'm questioning everything. I'm just spitting this out. I don't know. We got to verify this part. But they were saying I read somewhere that it was a double tap. Double tap is like, the suicide where there's 2 hits in the back of the head, and they call that a suicide. It was a double tap. One went in, oopsie daisy, that was a school. Everyone's coming in to help, rescue. Here come the parents. Your children have been blown up. Number 2 missile comes into the exact same whoopsie daisy. Now, again, I don't know if that's true. 1 is bad enough. I'm going to rant about just the 1 right now. But if it was a double tapper and the parents or assistant, maybe even ambulance, I don't even know. We don't even know yet. It is such a deep fog of war of gaslighting right now. There's a lot. It's almost all unknown. But I can tell you right now that our intuition, the things that we have talked about here, are coming true. Our intuition was correct. We are in right now World War IV. You can't deny that. You can debate me if you think it's technically and historically and number 3. I say it's number 4. I think it was 3. But that's not the point. The point is that it's clear now that we're in that. We are in this spiritual, religious, holy war, whether you like it or not. And there's a lot of Americans. I don't know how many international people are on right now. Let me know if anybody's within 1,000 miles of any of the crazy shit over there, or even a couple thousand miles. If you're out of the United States, let me know if you feel like talking about it, because I'm very, very curious of the dynamics of it. But we can see and hear the disinformation and the lies and the deception coming from Trump himself, which when you lose integrity, let me explain some of this stuff. Like I started out with the rant saying, I'm breaking some of these things down, not to insult this very intelligent audience. You guys are fucking brilliant. You're smarter than me. You may not be as angry and hostile, but in my speaking, but you're smarter than me. There is simple things to understand here that it's mind-boggling at a 6th grade level of economics, on an 8th grade level of political science. These are simple things to understand of the errors. It's beyond gaffe and error. This is complete sabotage. It's a complete sabotage. You have satanic dark forces that Bibi's own words is quoting things that killing children is acceptable because you can kill all their goats, you can kill all their babies, you kill all the women and children because it's now been declared for whatever religious holy concept he wants to declare. It is a Judaist jihad, if you will, from Bibi. And he's saying the most dark and twisted, morbid, it can't be anything other than satanic. And you have Trump now on the plane making the same type of bizarre, dark, psychopathic statements. For example, he replied to the reporter that asked about the girls. He says, well, that's war. People die in war. Who are you with? Washington Post? Don't you think that death is a part of war? And this condescending, checked out, just this psychopathic glaze over his eyes as he's going to drill in on a reporter because they asked about the dead children, and he's gaslighting and saying it's Iran. Like Iran is going to blow itself up, blow up children for a false flag to somehow instigate and to justify their self-defense. They don't need it. They don't need to justify their self-defense at this point. Israel grabbed Donnie by the nuts and has pulled in the U.S. military to strike first. That's the biggest blunder you could possibly make. You never strike first on this type of a level. You let them hit. And I noticed they were trying to pull him in to get him to hit. And Iran was very cautious because they know and are smarter to strike first. You don't strike first. Although some argue art of war, strike first because, no. Art of war is to avoid war altogether. You dumb fucks that are citing art of war as if it is some sort of military strategic textbook are completely delusional and out to lunch. The art of war, the entire book, the entire philosophy is you avoid war at all costs. That's the whole book. The art of war is to avoid war. So there's no genius here. There's no 5D chess from Trump. There's no super genius 180 IQ thing happening here any longer. Not after this. So there goes his IQ. There goes Don's integrity. There goes Don's likability. There goes the base down the hopper before midterms. Before midterms. These people are going to the ballots. Now, what's the consequences of all this? Obvious. Hyperinflation. So now all the talking points, all that campaign trail bullshit that they had geared up to saying, I brought down gas, Biden jacked it up. Biden did fuck things up with that mandate. He interrupted the supply chain lines, mandated toxic mRNA. Yes, I'm very aware that they told Donnie it was helpful. It's not. It's poison. It's not even a inoculation. Okay, I'm going to digress from that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice. We don't want to get the video pulled just from that statement. And they used to do that. Lately, there's been a little bit more free speech on YouTube, and I do appreciate that. But I digress. I'm digressing. The ignorance of the timing is my whole rant right there. The last several minutes, really the whole thing, the whole video from start, 23 minutes. It's the timing of all of this. It's not only immoral and unethical in a spiritual war of some sort of witchcraft that they're openly stating. They need to build the third temple, this whole red heifer sacrifice. How many of you know about the red heifer sacrifice? You haven't heard about the red heifer, this bizarre, purebred, cloned red heifer from Texas, brought into Israel and then groomed and cared like it's a god, like the golden calf. It's Baal, and it could be interpreted that way. And so they got to do this sacrifice, and it's all this ancient things, and they've got this rhyme and reason, but it's to eradicate all their enemies and start a new global order with communist Judaist foundation and people. Everyone else, we're all goyim. All the goyim's gone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. If it takes nukes, they got nukes, and they're ready to nuke you. They're ready to nuke me. They're ready to nuke us. Does that sound like something God would want? Nuking children, blowing up children at their schools? Hell no. That's satanic. That's got to be dark. So, disinformation, Iran war. I've got some scratchy chicken scratch notes here, but I did because I know that I wasn't going to remember, and I didn't want to. The way to do it is what all the more professional guys are doing it on YouTube right now. Is that they're playing that video and then they'll stop and pause, rant, make a statement or whatever, and then play, stop and pause. That's the way to probably do it, but I'm not doing it that way. So, but I did have just brainstorming. There was a few things. It's not all about that the air flight presser, but that changed the perception forever for me as an independent and anybody that's watched it. And it's like, how could you say and behave like that in front of cameras? And it's not as much as like, oh wow, what did they do? It's their behavior. You can smell the sulfur gas in the cabin. You can tell they have liar eyes. All of them. All three. Well, there's three. Wilkoff. First of all, Steve comes in, he's the negotiator, right? The goose is out on that guy. He's been stalling and manipulating all for World War IV for this weird ZioCon cult, sex death cult in Israel's got ready for us. The big plan. The greater Israel is really this bizarre sex death cult, in my opinion. But Steve's there, and Steve looks like somebody out of Reservoir Dogs. Like he's been traumatized. Like he's got a bullet in his leg or something. He's been shot. He's had baseball bats knocked in the back of his head, and he's been pulled out of a trunk out of a Cadillac. And there's Steve. And Steve's kind of like, please don't, quit beating me. I was, oh God, I've got the boss here, and I don't want anybody to know how he talks to me in private. Just weird. You can see the terror on Steve's face. Now, Pete's a professional psychopath, and excessive amounts of alcohol, it helps with that. And you can tell that excessive amounts of alcohol really helped Secretary Pete battling these, type of empathy and emotions that he may have for people. He's a professional. God help his wife. God almighty. Can you imagine being married to a psychopath like that? And she looks very nice. He posted a little thing on her happy birthday, and I thought, man, she is a bird in a bird cage, right? So you've got Secretary Pete there, and he's a pro. He's a pathological liar. He's got the professional psychopath. Steve's not as good. Steve's is about as good as hiding his emotions and thoughts as he is at negotiating for peace, which is zero at this point. He's not a very good peace negotiator, if you didn't notice that. Not so much. As he, well, I'll back off of Steve. All right, here's one of the points. These are just a few points. I'll just wrap through here and boom, boom, bang, bang. World War IV escalated, and they're avoiding framing as war, as a manipulation. That's an obvious no-brainer, but again, not to be insulting, I'm just breaking that down. MAGA base is being told that this is a military action to liberate Iran. We're doing this for the protesters. Hang on in there, protesters. That's another one here on the point. And they're believing it. They're believing it. You've got to be a ZioCon. How else could you justify it? You have to be into that Zionist. ZioCon is the shortened word for neocon, neoconservative, but it's Zionist conservative neocon. It's what we're seeing right now. It's the Lindsey Graham. It's the Lindsey Graham that we've heard for 20 years. They're now manifesting it. And Trump is allowing, he's either been overtaken by these voodoo satanic dark forces, or he's been put on a bunch of new medications, which I know that he has. That's been openly talked about, like some sort of double decker of some cholesterol meds. And some of the medical reports, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving medical advice. It does things to the brain. It attacks the brain. There's one of the side effects is kind of Alzheimer's type of weird shit. That's a known side effect of medications that people take and I'm not a doctor, but I know that that's true. So that could possibly be it. He's got weird type of lizard rashes on his neck. I don't know if you guys have seen that. That's been in mainstream media. What's that? That looks like shingles. It's probably a byproduct. If he's for real been getting the shots and the boosters of the mRNA, shingles is a horrific common side effect, which shingles is absolutely horrific. It's like blistering chickenpox on grown men, grown people. So he's got that going on. He's got all these other medical things. So I'm just trying to figure out, or there's even, it's worse than that, which is the only thing that could be worse than homicidal reactions to medications, is if you're spiritually possessed. If he's been possessed by a Jared demon or some, because I believe Jared is very, very close to Satan himself. And if you got Jerebear, you married into the Mossad, you married in there, banging your daughter, knocked up your daughter, a couple babies, and so you got this kid who looks like a 15-year-old boy, ghastly, ghoulish cheeks sucked in, pasty white, very, very unhealthy. He's clearly anemic, and probably eats like a gerbil, like a couple little bean, he's got nothing on him. He's got nothing on him. I mean, you got to put 100 pounds on that guy before he's the size of a normal grown man. It's very strange. Now, listen, that's Jared. Jared is influencing, even though he's not on the payroll, Jared is influencing Trump. Obviously, he's influencing the entire thing. He's the one that's been going along for these little peace talks, which now we know were never peace talks. It was deception and delay, all to bring in the third temple and the Antichrist, and then apparently some sort of Messiah that they've cooked up. So we got Trump fabricating the early protest losses and players. So the whole Iranian, the other thing, gaslighting, misinformation, lies that have been disputed for about 2 weeks now, or maybe longer, multiple weeks, whenever the protests started, is they're saying that I even heard one number that was 50,000. 50,000 people have been machine gunned down by these mullahs. This uprising, they've turned the machine guns on their own protesters, and there's 50,000 losses, 50,000 deaths. Where the fuck that's coming from, nobody knows. Well, I know. It's definitely CIA propaganda, and it's completely false. Now, it's probably more around 3,000 or 4,000, and that number includes the ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Syrian, Jolani forces that Israel installed with the coup, ousting Assad in Syria. Those beheaders, because we see that with the torture from the policemen at these riots and the beheadings. Iranian students don't behead their people. They don't behead their police officers. Those are outside mercenaries. Those are outside lunatics that we've seen in the region for decades and decades and decades, unfortunately. And even more unfortunate, the U.S. military has armed all of those sides at one point or another in the last 20 years of fighting this remarkable war on terrorism that never ended. And apparently, we lost with Biden pulling us out of Kabul, Afghanistan, after 20 years and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, probably another 15 trillion in black site money, black donor money, looted. We can't find, you audit the Pentagon, we can't find $22 trillion, trillion with a T, missing from the Pentagon. So, as he's lecturing us about this great military strength and how much he's rebuilt everything, they're not mentioning the demise and the millions and millions of people that we've killed, the hundreds of thousands of children in Iraq that have deformed because of these depleted uraniums, all of these war crimes. He fails to mention that. That gets fallen down when we're doing this flag waving and trying to drum up war support from the nationalist base. You notice that, don't you? We do notice that. He's fabricated those losses. Those losses are way hella out of whack, and nobody's talking about the truth here in the West. That wasn't just protesters from Iranian colleges. That wasn't just teens disgruntled with the mullahs and the Khomeini. Total bullshit. Total gaslighting. If you didn't catch that, then do a little more deeper research after hearing it for the first time from my mouth, because I'm speaking the truth in that. Yes, there was battles, but it was with mercenaries, and we're not sure how many of the Iranian people, there's how many millions, tens of millions is there? How many of those Iranian people joined these mercenaries, the beheaders, the choppers, the ISIS, all these radicals? How many of those people? Now, you're going to have gunfights. So Iran is going to defend itself against that uprising, and whoever's there with them is in a line of fire. If you got a civil war on your hand, the same thing, unfortunately, is going to happen here in America. If people don't snap the fuck out of it, it's going to be faster than we all realized. You've got federal government armed, you've got forces down that are armed, however you want to call them, anarchist communists, Islamic communists. There's a whole bunch of different names that you could tack it on, but it's going to be armed protests, just like we saw, for example, yesterday in New York City. It looks like they've got a couple of young teen pro-Islamic communist crusaders, pro-Mamdani, who threw explosive devices into patriots, a crowd of patriots that was there protesting the communist takeover of New York City with Mamdani, peacefully protesting. They didn't bring weapons that I'm aware of. There wasn't any weapons pulled out. They weren't doing the firebombing. This looks like it's brand new coming off, and it could be Patsy Ringers. They've done that a whole bunch here recently, last couple of years. Of course, that's the playbook. Patsy Ringers brought in, but still, nonetheless, this just happened. And it's homemade jars full of nuts. It looks like what was those two brothers, Tarzakian brothers from the terrorist area, little cluster cell. Oh man, I got my dad on that. The Boston Marathon bombers. I forget. I think they had. They were Patsy Ringers too, and working with FBI plans. I don't know if it was they knew they were working with the intel, or if they were pulled in through fake intel honeypot type style. I can't remember that, but they look like that. They even have. I wouldn't be surprised if they're from the same area as those two brothers from that bombing back then. But it's very, because at that point, I think those guys brought in the crock pots and like a bunch of metal bolts and shit. That's what these two kids are accused of doing. I call them kids, young people. Yesterday in New York City, we're going to see a tremendous amount more of that because of this World War IV. This does not, the gaslighting that gets me so fired up. Top list here is hearing Trump say this is going to make it a safer world. This is going to make America safe. This is really going to improve your quality of life. This is really what we need, is we're going to go and take a baseball bat to armed nuclear jihadists, Muslim, Islamists. It's not necessarily jihadists in Iran, is it? Hezbollah could be interpreted as jihadists. But that's more Al-Qaeda, ISIS, when I use that word, and I probably shouldn't use it. But we're looking at a clusterfuck. And there's sleeper cells in this. This is the last thing you want to do, is bomb up people's children in schools. The last thing you want to do is blow up anyone, any country, any sovereign nation, blow up their desalination, which is their lifeblood for water in the region. It's already going to go into mass starvation in that entire area because they can't get the food surpluses and the food shipping containers into the area. So you're talking about a situation coming down the pipeline. How is that going to look in 30 days to the midterms campaign? How is this going to look as we see dozens and dozens of U.S. servicemen shot down, as we've got several now that are missing, being held hostage, shot down out of their fighter jets over Iran? Nobody wants to talk about that or admit that from the DOD and the Secretary of Warpath, Pete's staffer counsel, advice. The dumb fucks with the neocons, I call them. So how is that going to, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse is my point. When you blow up people's desalination facilities, you're now killing women and children in the mass because you can't get the water to them fast enough. And it's tit for tat, tit for tat. I saw that Iran came in and has blasted out some desalination either this morning or yesterday. It was on one of my feeds, Al Jazeera links, and they're blowing up. I think it was it Qatar or was it Bahrain? I think it might have been Bahrain's water. So, but they're just it's just escalating. They're blowing up their oil refineries on all sides. It's just, it's spiraling into a total cluster. It's already ugly. You've already lost probably, I'm estimating, 15 to 20 million hearts and minds of close to the 100 million that voted for Trump 2024. You've probably lost about 20 million voters right now. And it's just going to get worse. That will double if you don't redirect course and change course and pivot hard, which I'm not sure you can even pivot at this point. I think that might be naive. I'm an optimistic guy, but even that feels pretty fucking naive to say that we can turn it around. But I don't want to say no, because that's all we've got is to demand a full stop. Get the Arab countries, they're talking to the Persians, they're coming to, they say, we're going to stop. Persia said, the president said, we're going to stop. And then all of a sudden they fire off and they start blowing them up all over again. There, we're going to stop hitting the Arabs. We're sorry. They apologize. Trump calls that a victory and a retreat and whatever the word he used. What was the word? It was, I'm drawing a blank on the word that he used, but he used the word that's a total abuse of what they were actually, like succession. What do you call it when you admit that you're done? It's not a full surrender, but now he's talking for that. No way, man. No way. When you blow up children and you blow up people and you're blowing up water stations and their oil and oh man, no, they're going to think about for the next 20 years. Another 2 generations is coming to America for revenge and retaliation. This is the psyche. You don't have to be a shrink. This is basic psychology 101. It's the first year in an associate's degree at a community college. It's not complicated to understand. When you blow up people's children, they will spend the rest of their life retaliating revenge against you, attempting to blow up your children, your family, and their children, and the next generations of children. This is not how you do business. And for what? And for what? A golden cow? A red heifer? A third temple? Voodoo and witchcraft that the Christian Zionists have signed on here in America. And that really concerns me. That's a heartbreaker that we have so many millions of people that are not only going along with this, but they're encouraging it, thinking that this is a good idea and believing somehow that Jesus himself, Jesus, the Lord Almighty, God Almighty, is going to come back because of these actions, these military, warlike, genocidal destruction, and Jesus is going, or their Messiah is going to approve of that. Our Jesus, the Messiah for the Christian Zionists in America, for the U.S. Christian Zionists, you believe that Jesus is going to be happy with that? So you're going along with a witchcraft spell, some sort of bizarre Zionist plan to build a temple to trick Jesus to coming back sooner than later. It sounds insane. And that's exactly what you're telling us you're doing. Pure insanity. Satanic. And I rebuke you for it. And any Christian that's out there, Muslims included, even good, righteous Judaists that know it, rebuke it all. Rebuke it yourself. Rebuke, rebuke, rebuke. Get behind me, Satan. Be gone from us. So Trump fabricating that protest, he said that again on the flight. It's been nonstop, and it's total bullshit. Trump betraying campaign promises to end all foreign wars. I hit that earlier, and that's huge. That's huge. Why? Because he can no longer say that on the campaign trail. That was Susie Wiles, the chief of staff. That was her great genius plan, is we're going to, for midterms, these are her words, not mine, for midterms, we're going to have to get him out on the campaign trail, just like he is on the ballot. And he's not on the ballot. And that's why the numbers are so low, is psychologically, conservatives or people in general in between on these midterm elections don't show up unless they're motivated to. And if you got a bunch of whacked out blue hairs, anarcho-communists who've been threatened to kill and have attempted to kill DHS employees all across the country, including my hometown right here, I've seen them at Portland ICE threatening to kill DHS employees in front of my eyes. I was there filming, as it's all been filmed. Anybody that tells you that's peaceful protesters down at Portland ICE is a bold-faced pathological liar. That's a bold-faced lie. You can't just bring in some inflatable blowies, some frogs, a couple of rainbow gay unicorns on a week or two out of years and years, but several months stretch of trying to kill with rocks and weapons. There's been machetes, there's been guns, there's multiple charges down. This is just Portland ICE facility. So these Democrats have been gaslighting us, and it's going to reach a tipping point. But this with Trump is devastating, because for me, and I'll explain it in just simple terms, is that if I can't trust a guy, there's no way I'm going to vote for him. And I'm certainly not going to defend and pitch him on social media any longer. And I sure am not going to campaign for them for free. And I'm certainly not going to be motivated about voting or helping Republican agenda that is propping up those Trump MAGA players, because they've been corrupted and at this point are being viewed as satanic, not holy forces being nominated, being endorsed by Trump. That's how it's being perceived. It's going to be perceived. You already got the Democrats that hate you. We already got the Democrats that have been trying to kill us all, including Donnie. That's not hyperbole either. Literally, multiple attempts on killing patriots, just like New York City. I believe it was yesterday. I don't think it was today. Could have been today. I think it was Saturday. So Trump is clearly betraying, and that in itself is enough. He's got no integrity. He's looked at as a liar. Now, immediately people think, well, what else has he been lying to us about? Everything? Is this like Erica Kirk? When we find out she's got 5 different colleges that she's got degrees from, and none of that was true, all in the same year? Just souping up her resume, but that's pathological liar type of indicators. That's a red flag. When someone's souping up their resume with a bunch of fake schools and fake certificates and fake bullshit, how are you going to hire them and trust them for your employment? No, you escort those fucking pathological liars out of the building and get them the fuck out, and then thank God that you didn't hire them and get them into your staff. That's the same thing the way American public and voters are thinking of politicians' administration. If Trump's credibility and integrity is at 0, we lose the House, we lose the Senate, there'll be impeachment, and it just gets worse for the next 2 years. And then you're going to lose America. And we'll blame Trump. We're going to blame this Israel-only coalition. We're going to blame these people that are calling us Qatar bots, and we're the bad guys because we're the ones that are resisting against this bizarre religious holy war, this witchcraft to bring back Jesus before Jesus is ready. I mean, what kind of a fool wants to rush Jesus in his return? Just think about that for a second. What kind of lunacy? How many booster shots of mRNA that's affecting your brain and you're ready to stroke out have you had? A lot. I can't imagine what it would take to get someone to believe that. All right, I'm going too long. It's already been an hour. Trump says Iran bombed itself and killed 170 people, mostly young girls in school. I hit on that. Trump's psychopathic response to dead servicemen, dead children, cold, detached, evil. Is he possessed? And I did go through that as well. I can't say anything more than you have to watch the presser on the plane. It's the last one. You be the judge. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to old crazy Ollie over here. Do your own research. All right? Do some praying. Pray about this. If you have any drop or ounce of religion or spiritual interest or guidance of any kind, whatever it is, pray and meditate on what I'm saying right now. Pray and meditate on this situation. Understand that yes, a nuclear holocaust is in biblical terms. It can be interpreted that way. Jeremiah, the flattening of Israel, the flattening of Damascus. Yes, it's in scripture. But why are we trying to inorganically rush it and make it happen? Why in God's name, in any level, when anyone having any common sense or real good-natured religion and spirituality want to do a World War IV to rush up and bring in their religious ceremonies? And the Islamists, the mullahs are the bad guys? No. What Trump is doing is he's elevating the Iranian people. Trump is elevating. It may not happen right now. I mean, it is for me, and I can see the tsunami coming. I can see that changing the hearts and minds and souls and brains of Americans, the voters. I can see that tsunami coming. This is elevating. It's making the Iranian people the victims. And it's going to create, unfortunately, massive hostile environment for Judaism. And I like Judaism. As a Christian, I've repeated it many, many times. There's multiple reasons why I like the Judaist people. Now, I don't like this cult stuff. I don't like this Chabad type of New York cult type weirdness. You know, and those are the people, exactly the kind of people that are going to send in, Muhammad 1 and Muhammad 2, the teenagers with little homemade jars full of screws and bolts and nuts, which is what they had, wrapped in duct tape. But that will do it. You can kill somebody. If you pack your explosive in there, you can take someone out that way. Yeah, that's like right out of the anarchist cookbook right there. It's like homemade crap. So I don't know. We don't know if it's a real operative. It looks like to me that it was Islamic extremists. They're being framed. Those kids are being framed, or they did it and they were being manipulated. It's the same. It's not really or, it's and. They're being manipulated to create this religious holy war and instigate it more than it's already in full-blown force here in America. And that's just going to get worse. That's the plan. Really, the globalists, to destabilize America, we have to have a civil war where we're fighting against each other, and no better way to do that than manipulating people's spiritual, religious beliefs into hating another tribe of a different religious belief. That's how it's done. Historically and in real time. Again, this is not deep thoughts. This is basic 8th grade type of common sense. Exactly the same way as when you pull these stunts on a midterm, you lose the voters. You lose your House. You lose the Senate, possibly lose the Senate. I think that's quite possible now. Even if Donnie stopped now, he can't. The forces are pulled him in, the satanic forces. So is Don possessed? That's the question that I'm asking now. Is this level now? I was trying to give him a little wiggle room of medications, eating holes in his brain for the cholesterol, and it's possible. But really, we have to analyze what person allows these type of dark satanic forces. How could you call it anything less than satanic? Whatever your religion, what do you want to call it? What's the dark forces? Dark forces? You don't want to say Satan? You don't want to call it satanic? This is very clearly satanic to me. When you're blowing up children and then blaming the people, the families that you blew up their children, blaming them for the missile, that's deceivery. That's fuckery on the highest spiritual satanic devil level. That's what they do. And that's also their specialty. So anyway, I'll wrap this up here real quick. All Iran Navy fleet sunk. All Iranian Navy fleet sunk. Okay, that's been repeated now for days. That was repeated on this psychotic plane ride. And even if that's true, it's only partially true. Now, let me tell you why that's only partially true. There's dozens and dozens of Iranian submarines that are armed and ready to go. Let's not even talk about the alliance with the arsenal from Russia and the arsenal from China, who are now clearly beginning to be positioned and maneuvered into backing Iran in a hot war, in the hot war of World War IV. So the other thing is there's no mention of these submarines, and then there's the unmanned marine drones. Now, you may have seen some of this. We're going to see a whole bunch of this. If this is going to get dragged out, which it looks like it's going to be dragged out for months, probably right into through the midterms, right past the midterms as far as I see it. If they've given up on the midterms now, why would they stop after the midterms? They're just going to keep plugging away. There's no way to stop these guys. They are completely insane. This is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre shit, and you got Jared there in the leather mask. I mean, this is fucking crazy shit. This is real life horror show. So those unmanned marine drones, those are no joke. If you haven't seen those, they're these little boats. There's like a drone, instead of the mosquito brigade. I mean, can you imagine hearing that? The last thing that you hear is those mosquitoes as they blow you up, the mosquito drones. I call them mosquitoes. Some of them are so loud they sound like a motorcycle or a moped or a lawnmower. I mean, they're loud, and you can hear that thing. It's right over your head. You know you're going to get fucking blasted to shit. The unmanned marine drones. You might as well call that what it is. That's Iranian Navy fleet. And guess what? There's no people on them. They're unmanned. And guess what? They're fairly cheap, just like the drones. And guess what? That's going to kick the shit out of U.S. Navy fleet or any fleet that's hostile or any barge, any oil tanker, any cargo vessel. It's going to destroy them very quickly in that region, the Persian Gulf, right through there. Cheap, free, easy, homicidal, unmanned marine drones. So this gaslighting that Trump is like on this victory path. Oh, we've won. Oh, yeah, they really look sad. They really look pathetic. Oh, we won all that. All this shit that he says. If he believes that, he's completely criminally and mentally insane. And I mean that on a psychological, clinical term. If he's gaslighting and lying, which is I kind of tend towards that, although I now question all of my analysis of Donnie. We may be dealing with a mentally ill and criminally insane person because none of that is true. We're not, there's nothing being won over there with this shit. They've got underground bases. So these cliffs that are overlooking the Persian Gulf. This is why Iran is taunting them saying, hey, if you're coming, We're waiting for you. Come on in. They're in underground bunkers in the cliffs, just like Afghanistan with their underground cities. And, that's why they said they couldn't find Osama bin Laden. It might have just been because he was an ISI and CIA, Saudi Arabia, through the CIA headquarters there right in Saudi Arabia. He was one of those assets, right? Tim Osman, Osama bin Laden, OBL. Tim Osman was his real. If you didn't know, he was a CIA agent, operative ISI, and he was a multi, just like Jeffrey Epstein. What a remarkable coincidence. The people handling us, the U.S. neoliberal politics, right, just like that, right there doing similar things in different parts. Mountain bunkers. So that this is something that I just got a little bit of it, the intel. And so, but apparently, and so when you're up high, that's rule number one in war. You want to get to the highest point because you've got the best outlook. I don't know what those military terms are, but you've got the edge. Whoever's the highest has the visibility, has the edge in the battle. They're in these cliffs that look down on the Persian Gulf, ready to blow up whatever the fuck that they haven't given permission to down there to blow up. They're waiting. It's a trap. It's a trap. Trump is put his golden nuts into a bear trap. And it's snap. Trump's nuts are in the trap. And he's not going to stop. So he's going to continue to just completely self-destruct like somebody that douses themselves on gasoline and lights themselves. Nobody lights it. They light it themselves. That's what Trump is doing right now. If he does not correct and pivot the path immediately. And even then at this point, I think it's too late. Midterm shellacking, and we're going to exchange nukes. There's going to be a nuclear exchange. And unfortunately, I've seen that. In my brain, I've had those visions. A lot of us have. And I'm not all, saying, oh, I saw something nobody else saw. We've all been talking about it. And it actually even goes back to Biden. Because we were so close to a nuclear exchange with Biden. It's the closest we've ever been. Except for now. And who would have guessed? What irony. So Trump doing this to liberate Iran? I ask a question. But callous of the 170 dead girls bombed. Dozens schools bombed. So there's now, the reports are coming out. It wasn't just the one, the girls that are blown up in this, and they go, oh, whoopsie. Actually, they're not doing whoopsie, are they? They're saying Iran did a false flag whoopsie to make it some sort of manipulation. It's just insane bullshit. Eventually they're going to go, oh, whoopsie. Oh, boy, it looks like an accident. Well, then why did you continue to then bomb another 12 schools in the area or across the country, from what I understand? These are intel reports. We need to verify them. We're in the fog of war. I'm not saying anything's factual except for the fact of what I've read and what I've gleaned, the intel I'm gleaning, which I'm pretty good. I got a pretty good discernment, and I'm pretty good at double checking. But listen, even then, even with great psychic intuition, we're totally can be duped, and we can totally be misled. We are on multiple fronts from our own President Trump, for starters. So to liberate, so they come out. We got to do this for the protesters. Keep protesting. We're going to come help you. And now you're blowing them up. Now you're blowing their children up. You're helping the protesters by blowing up their children. Is that what the plan was? Was that the memo? Keep protesting. We're coming to help you. This is help. You call this a democratic help? To help democracy? You call this helping? No. This is how we lose the hearts and minds of the Iranian people if you continue to drag this on and kill them of starvation, kill them of dehydration, blowing up their desalination facilities, blowing up their children. Whatever people are cheering in these videos, which who knows what's AI and what's real, whoever is cheering it on, okay, they're going to be cursing our name. They're going to be cursing Trump's name. they're doing that right now anyways. But I'm talking about the people that support, not the people that have been hated, not the mullahs, not all the people around them, not everyone that loves all of that going on in Iran, because it's a civil war. And the CIA knows that. That's why they're trying to run in or bribe or whatever the hell it is with the Kurds. And that's the other lie that Trump was saying. He's like, oh, no. Who knows if it's true or not that he goes, I don't want to send them in. I don't want to kill the Kurds. This is the same plane ride that I'm talking about this entire video. So he's now trying to say, oh, it's some sort of holy divine revelation that he's had that he doesn't want to send in the Kurds. I bet it's a lie. I bet they do send in the Kurds, but the Kurds are saying, hey, we don't want to fuck around with Iran, with the IRGC, because they're a little tribe at the top of Iran. The strangest dynamic. They're successionists, but yet they're there in Iran or in that territory. I guess you call it Kurdistan. Is it really Kurdistan, or is that just it's fucking Iran, isn't it? It's Iran. It's North Iran. But whatever. They're separatists. They're communists. They're complete. I wouldn't want to box them. I wouldn't want to fight them. They're batshit crazy. Of course, who isn't batshit crazy over there? I mean, you got a lot of tribes in the desert that are not doing well. Trump doing this to liberate Iran? Bullshit, right? Bullshit. When you talk callous like you did on that plane and say death is a part of war, it's sad. Oh, it's ugly. It's sad. But death is a part of war. That's what he's saying. That's what he said. That is psychotic stuff. And you got Bibi Netanyahu that is saying he's invoking Amalek and all this other stuff where he has a right, and it's their scripture. He's claiming God's telling him to blow up the donkeys, blow up the cats, blow up the children, blow up their wives, blow up everybody, because that's what you got to do to find salvation or stay safe with their God. It's crazy. It is an armed nuclear sex death cult. That's what Israel's becoming. And Trump being pulled into that is the absolute stupidest and most ignorant. I'm repeating myself. I might have to just wrap up the video. As soon as I start repeating myself, I know, dude, just turn the fucking video off, bro. Okay? Oh, here's another big one. This was a big one. Right here on the plane. We're still on the plane. USA did not defend. Oh yeah, well that was my thoughts. USA did not defend Qatar, but on the plane, quote, babies' heads chopped off, women chopped into half. So he's blaming October 7th, which all of that has been debunked. It's just like it was debunked with Syria when they went in to try to justify bombing the shit out of Syria years and years ago. They said that the babies were pulled out of the incubators and thrown onto the dirty, stinky concrete floors and killed. This is what they said. This was a part of all that shit. They always come for the babies, right? I mean, it's like, what are they going to see? They're puppies, kittens. The only thing that are probably a bigger emotional trigger than the puppies or the kittens, it's going to be the babies, right? In fact, I hate to say it, but many Americans care more for the puppies and more for the kittens than they do for the babies anywhere in this country or abroad. You wrap your mind around that. That'll give you an instigator of the social engineering and the level that we've got going on in this country. It gives me goosebumps to think that millions, tens of millions, I don't even know how many millions. I've been like, how many millions? Tens of millions of Americans think like that. They think like that. They are egging on World War IV and their own demise, but also with the pets and the animals are worth more and have greater value spiritually than children or babies terminated in a abortion clinic or across the board. Babies' heads chopped off. If they're concerned about us blowing up children, or it was so weird how he worded it. It's like he tried to skirt around the fact that he knows it was Israel and U.S. forces together, but it was Israel. It was, well, who knows exactly who pulled the trigger. They're probably working side by side just like they are in Ukraine. We know the CIA and the Azov Battalion and the Nazis. We know that the Judaist oligarchs are involved in that too. Kolomoisky and all that. It's the same fucking playbook. It's the same fucking players. And that's why we see Zelensky wants to jump in. He wants to start drone bombing Iran for us. Why? Because he's being controlled by the same players that have been doing all the rest of this massacre. Gaza, against Russia, now Iran. It's the same fucking players. They recycle them. Babies' heads chopped off. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. That not only that, but October 7th was a stand down. And not only that, there was the Hannibal directive, which allows and made the IDF come in and blow up all of those ravers, all of those cars with some ravers hiding. They even blew up their own IDF police station. Yes, there was a police station with civilians in it that they, out of concerns that a terrorist could be in there controlling it, or that a terrorist had somehow flown their little caveman hang glider, little paragliding, Amazon, $150 off Amazon, their little paragliding hang glider, and then got into the police station. So they just blew up everybody, all their own people, whoever the fuck was in there. Just blew shit out of everything, blew shit out of everybody. And you've got that from eyewitnesses. You've got that from Iranian leaders that were talking about it, but you got that from the ground. They're like, man, they just went fucking berserk. They went berserko. But they stood down for how many hours? Several hours? Was it more than several hours? They stood back just a couple of minutes away from they could have sent in all those helicopters and everything else. They let that scene happen for hours. They let the ravers. Now, I'm a raver. I'm a 1990s raver. I even got a little DJ in me, right? I love it. I love dance beats. It's therapeutic, by the way. So I identify with the scene that happened over there. Not to mention there was a couple of little dready honeys, little younger than my generation, so I wouldn't have known them. I know plenty of dready honeys in Portland over the decades. It's a classic Portland thing. Money and dreads. Trustafarians, I used to call them. Trustafarians. They got trust funds. Trustafarians. Trustafarians. Two of them over there were killed. Were from Portland. So those are my girls. These are our girls. These are our Oregonian girls over there killed in that rave concert. And they allowed that, whatever the hell and whoever was paying who, those mercenaries to go at it and do it. But Trump has now picked up all of that bullshit propaganda saying that babies were chopped, their heads were chopped. Never happened. They never happened. And they were saying that now he's saying women were chopped in half. What the fuck is going on with Don? Does he believe that? Has he been brainwashed in mass hypnosis sessions with some new medications? The MK Ultra Donnie. If he believes that, he's been MK Ultra'd on top of something else that's going on. I don't know. I'm not saying I know. I'm going, it's that serious. We lost Donnie if he believes that. It didn't happen. So October 7th, framing similar to the Iran attack. Okay, I've been ranting and babbling about that. That's kind of the connection I'm talking about, is these false narratives and stories that are coming out to try to demonize the mullahs, demonize all of this, when they all backed Jolani, who was in Al-Qaeda, ISIS, whatever, I think it was Al-Qaeda, killing American soldiers. They now backed him and is the president of Syria. So they have backed this jihadist for Syria. And then they're going to try to do the framing that the mullahs were the bad guys when they're fighting Al-Qaeda. They're fighting ISIS. Soleimani was fighting ISIS in Syria. Soleimani they turned him into a martyr hero, was the general or some high-ranking dude that Trump drone bombed in the first term. So he blew up the guy that was fighting the bad guys. Bing! And it wasn't a whoopsie, it was targeted. And then he's proud about it and talks about it on the campaign trail for the next 6 years. So we're seeing that's blame enemy on self-inflicted errors. Okay, so that's what I've been talking about. They're blaming the enemy, Israel, U.S. forces, all the talking points going through all the networks. They're blaming the enemy on their self-inflicted errors, their mistakes that they've made. That's called projection into false narratives. That's 6th grade. That's 8th grade. That's political science 101, but yet the American grown adults aren't understanding that. MAGA, these genius, wealthy business people with MAGA can't see the truth of all this. They can't see the psyops. They don't see how this works. They don't know how this works. They're not as bright as the sixth graders. So you got the Iran superior hypersonic missiles. I talked about that in my last video, where you kind of see them coming down in these hypersonic, and then these cluster ammunitions. So you got this hypersonic coming down, and then it pops open, and then you've got 100 of these little baby monsters. It's like the trouble with tribbles on a Star Trek episode, right? When the tribbles get into the grain feeds, and you got James Kirk, he's opening up the hatches, and it's just hundreds and thousands and millions of these little trouble with tribbles. One of my favorite episodes of the old days. It opens up and you've got these little munitions that I just called tribbles. They're bombs. Trouble with bomb tribbles. So, and the expensive THAAD radar has been blown up. Apparently the reports is they're almost, some of them are $2 billion. These are these THAAD type of missile, very expensive. They've been blown to shit. Iran's been hitting them. That explains why we're seeing the bombing. There's nothing that's intercepting these massive bombing. Not only can they not stop the hypersonics, but even the drones and these other these munitions that are coming in, they have no air defense. Now that's true for Iran too, from the videos I've seen there, because who's knocking the shit that's blowing up their oil refineries? That's why it's blowing up their oil refineries. The air defense ain't knocking that shit down, right? I mean, I'm not a military guy. I'm not a military genius. I'm just speaking common sense. I'm just asking common sense questions here, right? So the airplane gaggle with Pete and Witkoff. Yeah, I've already been, the whole video I ranted about that. Ground troops being discussed. Trump said no to Kurds being sent in to fight. I've already mentioned that. And then the counter, which I think Al Jazeera, that's Qatar, I think it owns Al Jazeera, but there's all kinds of Arab opinions that come in through there. And they said that the Kurds said, F off. We're not going to go do that for you guys. Now, we'll see what happens. That could just be because the Kurds can be purchased. Why do I know that? Because the U.S. purchased the Kurds to fight previously. It's not like something they haven't done. But it's a different story with Iran, because technically they're residents of Iran, sort of. They got their little territory, and they're sort of treated like they're secessionists. I don't know. You want to say they have their own spot? Okay. It's northern Iran in my book. But what do I know? It doesn't matter if Trump working 20-hour days for dark forces. So it was just a random thought that I had, that it's everyone's talking about, it's so amazing. He's 80 years old and he works 20-hour days, and he's just fight and work and Diet Coke, and who knows what other new medications that are going on that are cholesterol meds that have fucked up his brain and thinking. But he's proving that it's not about a work ethic, that the more work is better. It's the quality of less work hours with higher quality of presidential leadership that is actually better for diplomacy and stability. So, you've got this mindset that Republicans is just like work. Oh, work is best. Have someone else raise your kids. Have someone else do this and that, and have someone else bang your wife, right? Because you're work. All you do is work, and that's the Republican work ethic. No, you really should take care of your wife, because she's going to leave you as someone else bangs her. And your children are going to not know who their dad is, and you're a stranger. You're like an uncle, as they call you, daddy or poppy, you're an uncle because you've been gone working all that time. And the same case is true here. Stop with the work sessions. Let me finish that thought. Stop with this working overload mantra and hug your children. Spend some time with your kids. You don't even have to do anything. Just sit in the same room creating art. Play a game, whatever you want, but you don't have to do anything. If you're present, you're there. When you're not present, our children develop major problems. Sometimes they turn into, as we see in Chicago and all across the country, sociopathic homicidal killers. It would be better integrity to work half as hard and work for real diplomacy. Just a couple of random thoughts there I had. So I went an hour and 20 minutes. I wanted to do a 20-minute video, nice, tight, disinformation. But you know what? It's therapeutic. As I always say, brothers and sisters, I always say that they're really therapeutic sessions for me. And I don't see anybody else asking any questions or needing any crisis counseling on World War IV. So we'll leave it there. But I digress. We're gonna go out with a little Dub Island. I'm gonna show you some ideas for some new drawings. It's American Indian design and decoration. I'll just show it to you here as I play just a little bit here. This one's called No Dub Island. It's the scientist 30 years ago. This is old school dub, just like I loved it and remember when I was a teenager. Dub, the scientist. So I think I did a pretty conclusionary thing there. I hope I'm not just leaving it loose there. I guess I could talk briefly about what can be done to stop this train wreck for the midterms. I'm losing hope. I'm losing hope that we can stop it. So I'm coping, I'm dealing, I'm seeing the projections. We're going to take losses. It's going to be nasty. And we could even lose our country in more ways than one, actually. I was just reading an article. I've been joking about Chinese submarines. Apparently, they've been building them. So I don't know if that was like some sort of a remote viewing psychic intuition of me. Apparently, China has been specifically focusing on building submarine fleets. And they could be, at any point, cruising around off Alaska, where Russia does it, right in front of us, or right here off of the Oregon coast. Chinese submarines that could do all kinds of damage. They're going to be targeting California. They might lob a couple right up here in the Pacific Northwest. I hope not. I hope that California doesn't get hit, but they will. There's no way. There's something like 40 military bases. There's underground nuclear facility, something's there in California. I mean, blah, 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 blah. They're going to hit California. Unfortunately, I'm not saying right now. I'm not saying right this second, but or even this world war eventually. And it may be sooner than later. I don't know. But love this dub. It's good dub. So this right here, this is a mask. So they've got this I like that. This is classic Pacific Northwest where the birds, sea, and the ocean are incorporated. Pretty cool. Look at this guy. That's sick. That's a hell of a mask, man. If I could get some feathers, holy crap. So, people are like, oh, that's cultural exploitation. I'm not looking to do that to sell. It's a part of my study of indigenous cultures, my personal study, and also sharing to other people that never think about First Nations, never think about indigenous cultures. I got a lot of indigenous bloodline. Of course, I'm a Mada, got Irish and Norwegian, all the rest through my through my mother's side there, but even and my dad's. I mean, we're all really it's just a mix of a mix of a mix. To be honest, I don't think there's purebloods on anything anymore. But my whole point, I digress. The whole point is that I'm not doing it for marketing or money. I'm not saying that this is mine and I've created this originally by replicating or duplicating this type of cultural thing. Same thing with the Egyptian art. Same thing with everything I've done. I get haters that come in actually threatening me. I'll get death. I have gotten death threats from people thinking that I'm selling cultural art and that I'm a white guy that's exploiting tribes, and that they're if they find me, they're going to kill me because I'm cultural appropriation. Is what they said. It's the same kind of Trantifa crew that anarcho-communists that have gotten militant, and apparently they're trying to blow up the mayor and Mamdani. What is the story there? Because there's two at Mamdani. There was one at the protest, and then there was apparently packages that were outside of the mayor's mansion. I forget what they call that little place, but this was pretty cool too. Isn't that weird? Look at that. It's kind of reminds me of like a canoe, like half and half. But wouldn't that look cool? You got a nice dark background. I'd probably go like maybe a teal, like super dark green, or maybe a jade teal, but a little bit darker, so it's not quite as green. Black might actually look really hot. And that looks like another mask. So it's a drawing of a mask. I love that stuff. I just love it. We've had family friends like Rick Barteau, whose stuff is at the Portland Art Museum right now, actually on the second floor. But they've had shows of him for decades. Rick Barteau, the guy had he lived in like a chicken coop. I'm not kidding. Rick Barteau was my mom's neighbor, right out South Beach, right in south of Newport, for decades. I mean, the guy, he lived so humbly. It was like, I remember when I went over there and I was like, this is your studio? I mean, it felt like it was like dirt floor, and I was like, whoa. I mean, because I knew the guy was selling big. Where are you from? Hey, Tanner Moore. I'm from Portland, Oregon. But I would spend half my time in northern Idaho. So you got the Nez Perce, I think, is up there because my dad lives up there. So and technically I was born there for a couple of years, and then with the divorce, as a child, I would spend 3 months up in the wilderness backpacking, which was pretty wonderful experience. I didn't realize at the time it was torture and crazy and blisters on the feet, and grizzly bears ready to kill us. I almost got struck by lightning. We had lightning strike right next to us. We were up on these glacier runs where you can smell the electricity from the lightning all around you, and you're just sitting there in your little tent going, oh boy. And you get pretty religious. If you don't know God going up there, you know God because you start praying to God like, please don't let the lightning blast my ass. It's Sandpoint, Idaho, right there on Lake Pend Oreille. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country, man. Beautiful. It deeply affected me. And then I would spend my school year here in Portland. So I'd always have all these bronchial pneumonias and things like this because I'd come up from the high mountain, the Rocky Mountains up there in northern Idaho, and I'd come down into this low-lying marine valley, and it'll fuck up a kid's lungs. And every year it would be like a life and death situation. M81 camo is the best camo. Good choice. We kind of Tanner, you're a military brother. M81 camo. I don't even know if it's called M81, brother. I'm gonna take your word for it, man. I don't know. But anyway, it's pretty crazy. I didn't say anything about the several fallen soldiers. And that's the thing, the most unfortunate thing that happens with these military excursions, and this is really World War. Of course, I knew I was calling it World War III for the last 20 years. People weren't doing that. They call them military, exercises or excursions or whatever the fuck they call it. They just make shit up. is that we're fighting and pushing back against those corporate satanic forces. I call them satanic, demonic, dark forces. Any force that wants to create military weapons and create war to make more money off more military weapons, that doesn't come from Jesus. That doesn't come from a positive spiritual good, if you will. There's no divine intervention loading up tomahawks and making profits off of tomahawks, for example. All that shit. That's satanic. And when you have Israel in the middle of it, the Israeli people are beautiful. It's the same thing here in America as it is in Israel. You got a small cluster of elitists that apparently from the Epstein files are eating babies. I don't know if that's what beef jerky is. What is beef jerky in the Epstein files? I don't know. I've been making beef jerky my whole life, but what the fuck are they talking about? It could just be beef jerky. You got grape soda, you got all this shit, hot dogs and wieners and cheese pizza and all the shit that they're doing. What are they talking about? I actually think they're talking about drugs. But they could be talking about some baby parts. They could be talking about some adrenochrome or whatever the fuck ever the QAnon folks came out blazing. There could be something like that going on. I don't know. What the fuck do I know? But that energy is satanic. Okay? There's no other way around it. And, I would encourage you to get in touch with God. Get in touch with Yahweh, Jesus. That's, the different names that they say for this Christian belief. We have to examine our relationship with these so-called Israeli Judaists, which they're not even really Israeli or Judaists. They're controlling Israel and its people and the neighbors, which, by the way, Palestinians and the true Judaists, Israelis, are cousins. It's Canaanites. They're from, you go back far enough, just like you go back to Abraham. Abraham, you now pull in the Muslims. Those are all children, Abrahamic, from Abraham. So we don't need to be... The fact that anybody would blow up a desalination facility, it's a war crime, by the way. It's a war crime to blow up water. You die in 3 days without water. We're not talking about manning up and let's go outside of the bar and let's go. Boom, boom, boom. Man and man. Persona. Or the matador and the bullfight. It's not, and that's really kind of biased. But even the matador against the bull, it's not even on that level. It's not a fight. That is cowardly and satanic and wrong, and we rebuke it. But I look at, as I've said, I'm America first. I've never been a MAGA, I've never been this diehard MAGA guy. But I do support a lot of what's happened and come out of this administration. I don't want to see any harm to DHS. I think we need a border. We need protection. I've had a whole bunch of my neighbors die from fentanyl in my apartment complex here. I've helped bring a couple of them back to life, right? This is the last couple of years. This is what it's been like for me. The open borders has been real time, IRL, in real life, because that's exactly where I've been. I've seen these people. The fentanyl was so cheap under Biden being shipped in. It was free. It wasn't like some expensive cocaine, 1980s cocaine party where, we could still, you get a $100 8 ball back in the day, but it's not like that. My point is that it was actually free. It was not an elitist drug. It was intentionally loaded in, intentionally to poison our people, and it directly killed Oregon teen girls, because they thought they were getting a simple Vicodin or a simple Xanax, which I don't know why women love Xanax, but for 20 years, I've had women talking about Xanax and on Xanax, for that matter. It's a crazy thing. Maybe it was just overused, like Xanax. I hope that stops, because it's not good. It's not healthy, and it actually triggers anxiety for people. So, but I digress. I'm on a rant and a roll here. I should tune out, man. It's one of those things that uh, my heart is heavy, and I notice that I embrace a dark humor to try to turn a tragedy in a dark, depressing time or moment into like some sort of like Rodney Dangerfield stand-up comedy. You know, if you ever remember Rodney Dangerfield, I love that guy. I love those big eyes. That's where I first got the big eye thing. You know, it's like, you know, he really had a way of just big eyes are powerful. You give someone big eyes and they're like, man, they look at you differently. You really look like you're batshit crazy with big eyes. But Rodney Dangerfield would say stuff like, you know, I was poor. I grew up. We were very poor. You know, we were living in a trailer. My dad was beating my mom. And when I was a kid, my parents moved around. My family moved around all the time. But I always found them. It didn't take me long. You know, sometimes it'd take a couple more days and maybe a week or so, but I'd find that family. I'd find them. So, I mean, he's making fun of being poor, trailer park life, dark, brutal, right? Mustard stains on a wife beater, living off of probably top ramen and cheap whiskey, probably cheap Canadian whiskey. But he was making a fun out of it. You know, it's like kind of a dark humor. It gets darker than that, really. I don't know. Could you call that dark humor? I don't know if it is or not. But all right, man. Peace out. Say a prayer. Get right with God. And I really would appreciate if people would specifically target praying for an intervention into Trump's mind, that he comes to some sort of divine intervention and puts an abrupt stop to this genocidal World War IV massacre. It's bad timing. It's bad spiritually at any time, but it's really bad timing going into the midterms. And it's just going to get worse this next couple of months as hundreds and thousands of people die, including our beloved service people. So as I was saying, I condolences and prayers to the fallen family. I guess they've said there's another 7th member. I think we're in the dozens, because they're right now, the DOD is ignoring and not talking about the fighter jets that have been shot down. We don't even know where the pilots are. Pilots have been captured. So we have Donald Trump's Black Hawk Down moment right now, as we have these fighter jets down with pilots probably being tortured. Let's pray they're not being tortured, but just being trapped and imprisoned like the Hamas in the Hamas tunnels torture. That's torture alone, right? So even if they aren't being physically tortured, which they very well could be, or even killed upon capture, they're in the numbers that are not being discussed. This fog of war is totally skewing the numbers. They're trying to say tens of thousands of protesters were killed when they weren't, and they're trying to say everybody's doing great, and they're not. We're losing lots of casualties and lots of people. And that interview, I'm redirecting you. Watch Trump talking on that Air Force One gaggle. I think it's yesterday. It's brand new. It's the last one that they aired. Pretty sure it was yesterday. So he's flying around. And then you tell me, you pray to God about what happened to Don. What happened to Donald J. Trump? What happened to his brain? What happened to his spiritual heart? What happened to any type of good, positive guardian angels around him? Because I don't see that in that plane. I really don't see it. Third eye see it with this World War IV for the bizarre witchcraft Israeli spiritual ceremony, the red heifer on a third temple to trick Jesus into coming back sooner. And think about all the tens of millions of Americans, Zionist Christians, who we call brothers and sisters of America, who believe and are going along with this insanity. If that doesn't give you goosebumps, what does? All right. Peace out. God bless. I'll talk to you here in a couple days.